Alright, so this is part one on restoring my 1977 Sears 12.6. So basically the plan is for this one, real quick before I actually get started, is to paint it like a white and black groper. I will insert a picture here on what that actually will look like when it's done. So it's going to be rebranded as a roper instead of a Sears, because I don't have one of those yet in this body style, and I want one. So I guess that's a good reason. The tires are no good. You can see there's a big hole in there. I mean, I can stick my hand right through that. This one's not any better than that. I guess this one holds air, so hey, that's a bonus. We got one good tire. This one here, well, it's flat, so we're gonna just assume that that's no good. But if it ends up airing up and be fine, we'll just look at that as being a bonus. I took the cylinder head off the engine about a week ago now, and I have that soaking in some blaster, and it turns out that it didn't have any compression. And that's because the valves are just so full of buildup that they weren't closing up all the way. So I just soaked it down in blaster since that's all exposed. The piston does have a bunch of marks on it, like it was running and somebody dropped a bolt down in there, or a little screw or something, and that chewed it up pretty bad. I have no idea where I put the head for that. It's around here somewhere. So yeah, I'm gonna start taking this apart, and you guys will see the progress. Alright, so I got the engine taken out. That has 4 rubber engine mounts, so one here, one there, and then one there and one there on the back. And that pretty much just came right out. They're no good, so I'm gonna have to come up with some other ones. Actually, this one's good. The rest of them are kind of messed up, so I'll either just hard mount it to the frame like all the other ones, or I'll just come up with something. It seems like it'd be pretty simple to get that figured out. There's a crack on the frame here, so I will just go ahead and weld that back together. And I got to keep in mind that not weld that hole shut, because that's how the front grille attaches. I did take these 2 tires off so we can get a better look at how the fenders and everything attach. So it looks like we have a bolt in the front here, one here on the bottom, another one on the bottom. Halfway up the side, there's these 2 bolts here that bolt the floorboard to the fender, which is completely different than the Suburbans or the Customs. And then there are 4 bolts underneath the seat springs, or I guess underneath the seat, or on the seat springs. I have no idea why this camera won't focus. We have 2 bolts here. I'm going to just go ahead and assume that there are nuts welded to most likely the hitch plate. And that kind of goes like this on the inside, if it's anything like the Hydro Tracks. And those will just thread into that, and I'll probably break those off most likely and have a bad time with that, but we'll see. So I'm going to get this floorboard off, those bolts down here taken off, come back, and I will give you another update. So I made a little progress, thought I'd give you another update. So I got the bolts taken out for the floorboard, so this is all loose now. This one here stripped out, so I'm going to have to cut that off with an angle grinder. Not too big of a deal though. The 4 bolts hold the seat on. Basically, there's these flat pieces of metal about the length of my hand here, and this front one, or top front one here, snapped off. The other ones just came right out, so that's good. At least only have to fix one. And it looks like we have that bolt and that bolt, which with any luck just thread into the frame. And then same thing with these 2 that hold the transmission in. These actually go through the fenders, into the frame, through the transmission. I'm gonna just give her with the wrench, and hopefully I don't have to try to reach through on this side to get to a nut down in there. And well, now that I see it, that looks like where the charging regulator is back there. Alright, well, I wanted to show you something I just found out. So I just got realizing, you know, this back panel here just comes off with 2 7/16 wrenches. And yep, there's that charging regulator I was showing you before. And then right there's the 2 bolts, that one there, and then there's another one here that you can't quite see that I need to get to. So I can easily get a wrench in there and then hold my other hand on the impact and get those out. Figured that's what it would be, because this is how they did it. A very similar design as this on like the 68 to 71 Hydro Tracks. They did something pretty much just like this, because those frames are more square like this one is, and the hitch plate's kind of the same design with this little bracket here. So I thought I'd just show you that real quick. And yeah, I'm going to get these fenders off and show you what it looks like underneath. Alright, so I did get those fenders taken off. And Next thing is the steering wheel, it looks like, and this one isn't going to be fun. None of these really are because the way that they are, I guess. So I already snapped off the bolt holding it on. Now there is a keyway on here, tip of my finger. And now you don't want to cut right there. And when I say cut, I mean I'm going to cut it off with a reciprocating saw is actually what I'm going to be doing. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that here in a second. Alright, so you basically take your reciprocating saw and you line it up. I always put it the opposite of that keyway. The keyway in the steering wheel is facing down this way. You don't want to cut on top of that because that's only going to make it weaker. So I'm going to just cut right here and kind of, I guess, get lucky to get it off. Alright, just got cut through the rubber. That's usually the easiest part. Kind of start off like this just to get it started and then work your way more straight. Now you want to cut this as straight as possible without cutting, you know, down into the steering column itself, which usually I end up doing anyway. But that's just something to kind of be careful of. You might end up having to hold the saw up like this, you know, up a little bit, but sometimes that can really get vibrating on you. Well, we're making some progress. And I just bent my blade. I gotta unbend that now. Luckily it didn't bend too bad, otherwise I'm gonna have to use a different blade because you do have to have a brand new blade for this. And straight, because otherwise it'll cut all crooked and it won't be any good. Alright, now that's what I just did. I just cut down in here. Now I'm going to take a hammer and this flat punch. And I'm going to pound that down in there, and that's going to spread that wider. And I will hopefully just get the steering wheel right on off. Without wrecking anything, preferably. Would be kind of nice. Or getting hurt. That has happened. Oh, I'm too low. Not doing anything. Oh, the steering wheel went on the shaft further. So maybe a couple taps from the bottom. Yeah, we're definitely moving. Back you up a little bit here so you get a little bit better view of what I'm got going on here. Yeah, it's definitely, might be able to see there, it's wiggling. I'm going to pound it a little bit more. Look at that. Steering wheel is off. So you can see right here where I cut, just has a slight line down into where the steering wheel attaches. Let me get that out. Slight line where the steering wheel attaches now. So most of the time I can just shove this back on there and not have an issue. But you may end up having to put a tack weld on the top and bottom. And of course you got to be really careful not to set the steering wheel on fire. But that is how that's done. Alright, so now the steering wheel's off. Next thing is this dash piece. And then we have this plastic gas tank, which I might have shown you before, but it was dripping some water out of the line down there, so that's probably just full of water. But it's plastic, so that's kind of nice. Don't have to worry about that rusting out, unlike most of them. So yeah, let's get this dash and battery tray taken off. Alright, so I was just getting the bolts out to hold that dash in, and they're pretty much, I think, out, ready to get that off. And I happen to notice some watery oil on the floor. I'm like, well, that's odd. That shouldn't be. And here there's suddenly a hole on the bottom of the transmission. I'm not sure how that happened, but yeah, pouring right out of a hole. Now, I'm not sure if there was something sticking up. Like if this was sticking up on the floor like that and it went and just poked a hole in it, which would be weird. But it has to be something like that. I mean, that's a pretty good hole. So that might need like some JB Weld or something. I don't know. And when I say there was water on the floor, I mean because there's a lot of water that was in that oil. This is mainly all water here. I think we're starting to get some oil in that bucket now. Luckily, I had a bucket just sitting on the floor over there. I was able to grab real fast and stick under there. So that's unfortunate. So I'll have to tip this transmission upside down once I get that out, and I'll try filling that with something. So I don't really want to take that apart. I guess worst case, I do take it apart. I could just stick a bolt through there with a bunch of like RTV silicone or something on it to fill in that hole, because it's right in a spot where I know I can fix it. It's just annoying. So I'm going to get this dash pulled off while this is still laying on its side, since that oil is coming out. Yeah, you can see that that's like pure water. So that's probably a good thing that happened. No, actually, I'd rather just leave it be, because normally I never change the oil on these transmissions either. I just basically just run it. So all right, well, I'm going to slide that dash off. It'll just come straight up off that steering column while that oil drains into that bucket. I'll probably have to get a couple more because these hold like 2 gallons of oil, and we'll go from there. All right, so I took that dash off. It was pretty simple. I just cut a bunch of wires and got that off. It's going to get all new wiring and everything anyway. I did fill up an entire like 1 gallon bucket of that oily water that came out of it. And a little bit is in this one. It looks like it's pretty much done dripping. There's a bunch of the water that was in there. A little bit of all that oil's from the engine, I guess. But otherwise, it's pretty much just water that came out of the transmission. So I gotta fix that yet. Of course, I gotta take that out still. Battery tray, this looks like it's just 4 bolts. One there, same thing on the other side. I guess it's 6 bolts because we have 2 more here. And then this whole battery tray should come off. I'll take this fuel tank off so I can clean out the inside, as well as paint this battery tray and get some of this rust off. That's some thick, just rust just peeling off the frame. I mean, that's like 1/8 inch thick piece of rust. That might be a little thinner than it used to be right there. I take this solenoid off. All these wires are junk, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to get the dash and all that stuff taken apart, come back and give you another update. Something else I saw that's kind of neat with this is the steering actually has a U-joint, which I will show you here once I take this off, because I can't get the camera down in there. Alright, so I did get that dash taken off. It was just 6 bolts like I was mentioning. But yeah, there's actually like a drive shaft kind of U-joint on the steering column. Now, this tractor is supposed to be cheaper made than like the Suburbans or, you know, that style of tractor, when this is actually a lot more complicated. I mean, the Suburbans or the Customs, because this replaced the Customs, or in 76 would have been an ST10, which is a custom chassis, and this is meant to replace that. And I mean, this U-joint with the steering, there's this complicated mess of stuff here that honestly I'd like to take apart, but I don't think I'm going to, because good luck putting it back together how it was. I'd still like to take the front axle off. I got to take some stuff off of that battery tray and everything. I just took the 6 bolts off, holding on this hitch plate, which now this should just fall right off, maybe. Yep. So that's off now. There's a better look at the transmission. I did take this cotter pin out already for the high and low range lever, which that is in there. I don't know how. Oh, by these weird looking holder inners, I guess. So that wouldn't be that big of a deal to get out. Different belt guide than I've ever seen before on that. That's interesting. Voltage regulator, I got one of the bolts out. I couldn't get the other one out. It stripped out on me, so I'll have to cut that off. So this is the same transmission used on the normal style chassis, like a Suburban or a Custom. The only thing they did is they put these little spacers on the outside. A different pulley that's smaller. That might be the same pulley on a Custom, but I have to double check here. And it kind of seems like this high and low range shifter fork thing sticks out wider also. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because this has a hole in the bottom now. I might just put a different transmission in here, and we'll worry about this one another day. I do have another transmission out of a 90s like Craftsman 2 like silver boxy garden tractor that they made after these. Or I guess not 90s, it's an 80s tractor that has the same 633A transmission. I might just try to use that in here, but that drive pulley does seem like it's spaced out a little bit more, so I don't know if that'll work or not. But it does have a wider case, so that should just bolt right in this frame. I don't know. I'll have to see. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the transmission out, which there is a brake rod that I got to pull the cotter pin out right here. And then that lever should just pop off of that, slide right out. Then there are a couple of bolts, which I already took out right here, which mounted the fenders in. I already did that, which then that means there'll be these 4 bolts, 2 on each side, and this transmission can come right on out. So I will do that, and we'll give you another progress update and see what we do from there. Alrighty, so I got the transmission taken out. I got that just sitting on some jacks. Basically what I did is I put this jack under the front. I wish I got this on camera. I don't know why I didn't record it. I wish I would have. Oh well. I stuck this jack under the front. I had like an angle because the back is on jack stands. I just lifted the whole frame forward. I had to kind of push it because of that brake linkage thing. And then slid right out. These do have a adjustment for the belt tension, which I didn't know until now. That basically this just bolts on the inside of the frame, something like that. And then there is actually a slider, as you can see here. So you just loosen these 2 bolts up, and this thing will pretty much go like that in the frame. And that actually mounted right here. So that's kind of neat. So yeah, that's another look at that pulley. That looks like a little bit smaller pulley than what the customs have. So I'll have to see if this will work on that other transmission that I have that I was mentioning out of a Craftsman. Now I did break off this rear bolt on this side and then the front bolt on the opposite side. And unfortunately they're snapped off inside where I can't do anything to get them out. So that might just be a parts transmission since there's a hole in the case and that, but we'll see. I'd like to use it in something if it doesn't get used in this one. Now I was just looking at the steering before I turn the camera on here. Look at how wore out that is. So I'm gonna have to weld something on the frame there to get that hole smaller. And then this doesn't look like this is put together right either. There's a nut on the bolt, so this will be oh, I was actually thinking it would be seized up, but it's not. And then of course you can see this side is the same way. So that's going to need a washer welded on each side, a skinnier one I'd assume, and then, or I guess I could just weld that hole smaller and then just drill it back out. I'd probably just do that, and then actually put that in there properly, because there's probably supposed to be a nut or a spacer here, and then probably a nut here instead of, well, nothing. So I'll take that axle and I will undo these tie rods, and then I'm not going to take anything else off back here or on the actual top of it either. I'm not going to take off any of that stuff that you see there because that is super complicated, and it's not really worth it. I'll just clean it up really good, paint all that, and I mean it's underneath, you won't really see it anyway. Now this is a 2-piece frame that I might split, but we'll see. There's a couple bolts here. I might split it, I might not. I probably don't think I will, because that's going to start messing with that stuff that's right underneath, you know, all the steering gears and all that linkage on the other side for the clutch I don't want to mess with. But anyway, I'm going to end that video right here. It's just, you know, long enough. And I'm actually going to try to get this video edited and uploaded today. And I'll come back out after that. I'll work on all this stuff, get it all taken apart. You know, the rest of the way, all this stupid little stuff that's just too much to keep showing you. And then we'll come back. In the next video, part 2, you should see it wire wheeled, ready for paint. And then we should actually be able to start getting it put together in part 2. So that'll be it. Thanks for watching. Part 2 should be out within the next week to week and a half.